Joining me now, Tori Gavito, co-founder and president of Way to Win in Texas, and Latasha Brown of the Black Voters Matter Fund in Georgia. It is good to see you both. Latasha, I want to start with you. A group of faith leaders protested today outside the Masters tournament in Augusta, calling for the tournament's organizers to speak out against the new law. Are you seeing enough action from corporate Georgia since the MLB pulled out of its All-Star game out of Atlanta?
I mean, I think that has certainly increased. What we've seen is we've seen some companies come out, and in many ways, some think that is a little late. It's after the bill had passed. We could have made so much more ground had they spoken out earlier, but many of them are actually speaking out now. But what we're also saying is there are other companies that have to speak out, that you have to look at the PGA, that they have to speak out, that we have to really recognize that if you're supporting democracy, that all of us have a responsibility, whether you're a community, whether you're an organization, whether you're a business, you have a responsibility to speak out when you see democracy being threatened.
Tori, I do want to hear from you your sense of whether or not business leaders in Texas are watching what is happening in Georgia and taking note. But in addition to that, I want to talk about the Texas GOP's obsession with the Houston area specifically because it trends so blue. Newly leaked audio of a presentation given last month by a local GOP official in Harris County shows Republicans targeting mostly Black and Latino Houston precincts with poll watchers. The footage was published by government accountability group Common Cause Texas. Take a listen.
We're going to recruit and train and assign a very large, when I say large, it's 10,000. We're trying to build an army here of 10,000 people in Harris County that are motivated and highly competent folks to serve as election workers and poll watchers and to basically safeguard, our voting rights and our voting obligations.
The idea here, of course, is to spot widespread voter fraud that does not exist. Tori, this comes as Texas Republicans are working on bills to let poll watchers record voters at polling locations. I see you shaking your head. I mean, what is happening here?
I mean, we know that voters in places like Georgia and Arizona and Texas are moving forward. The GOP sees a complete geographic political realignment shaping before their eyes, and they are scared. There are 47 states right now that have just terrible voter restriction laws that are totally unnecessary. And of course, there's a particular divisive crew in Georgia, Arizona, and Texas where, they all have one thing in common, these governors in these states. They're up for re-election in 2022 and the first midterm coming up round the corner, and Harris County is ground zero for where the math shows math is no longer on the side of these governors, whether they're from Texas or anywhere across the South and Southwest. In 2018, they almost lost. They only won by about 200,000 votes. There are 1 million more voters in Texas now heading into this 2022 midterm election that are eligible to vote. So what we're seeing is that they are cherry picking their voters instead of letting voters pick their own leaders. That's what's happening. And Harris County, of course, has tremendous Democratic leadership, so they're running scared.
Latasha, I take that point, and at the same time, there's sort of the reality that you're going to have voters likely contending with some of what has already been put into place. So you have Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms signing an order this week to, quote, mitigate the impact of Georgia's new law by educating voters about some of the ways it might impact them. I mean, that might blunt the impact, I suppose, but how do you make sure that voters are equipped to combat these efforts?
I think that we do need to have education as part of it, which is why our organization and many other organizations on the ground are actually doing voter education work, that we've been engaged, that some of the mobilization that you saw in 2020 didn't just up and happen. That came after people working on the ground, working with communities, working with groups, educating them about the opportunity to vote, educating them about the significance of voting and the impact of their vote. And so they responded to that. And so I think that is one way. The other way is that we have to safeguard people's right to vote. that we cannot allow there to be legislation that is punitive, that punishes people for participating in the process. That's essentially what is happening. And so Georgia voters are now under attack, particularly Black voters are under attack because they came out in record numbers this last election cycle. And so what we have to do is we also have to make sure that we put safeguards to protect voting rights, not just in the state of Georgia, but there are 47 states right now that are looking at voter suppression laws that can be harmful to voters freely and fairly participating in the vote. So that's why we need the passage of H.R. 1. We need federal legislation. H.R. 4. We need For the People Act. We need the John Lewis Voting Advancement Act to make sure that we are expanding the protection of voters, the right to vote in this country.
LaTosha, you are so important that I am very impressed that you did not just jump up and answer that phone, because goodness knows, given you who that possibly could have been in the breaking news we would have had on our air. Thank you for sticking with us. Tori, I want to ask you, I mean, do you agree with LaTosha? Are you looking at it the same way, that in as much as you're going to fight back at the state level and try to combat this, that fundamentally the next big move has to come from the federal level?
Oh, absolutely. We know that federal legislation undermines 90% of what the Republicans are trying to get away with in the states. We, as Way to Win members, are doing all we can to push on a federal policy, while we're also really proud to support voices like LaTosha's at Black Voters Matter. I mean, this is an all hands on deck moment.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.